Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our, I think,
Yeah, that's fine.
is this our sixth session? Well, in any event, it's our
I got two. Six?
It's our last MoxiWorks hours for calendar year 2021. Okay, so be on the lookout on the follow-up email with the recording link to this call. You're going to receive, I think we have a new link, Debbie. If you can confirm that, a new link, a brand new link for MoxiWorks hours for 2022. Okay, so
looks like we've got some folks, about 5 people who need to mute, or actually quite a few more. So
Yeah,
I can't mute them. So Debbie, if you can mute them, that would be awesome.
I'm not sure if Debbie, if you
Those are
can,
long ones.
maybe I can. I'm not sure if Debbie has the.
I think if you make me co-host, I can do it. But
Oh yeah, hold on one second. Make co-host. Brett.
business never stops.
Yeah. Okay, Brett, I made you co-host.
Great, I can do it. Awesome.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Yeah. So where was I? So there should be a new link for MoxiWorks Hours 2022 that we're going to be sharing after this call. Maybe during this call, Debbie can put that in chat so you can use that one going forward. Okay. So here's our team. Just want to reintroduce ourselves. My name is Alex Castro. I'm your co-host today. You've heard from Brett Calthorpe. He's from MoxiWorks. He is our subject matter expert, or what we call for short SME. And he's actually going to go live into the product today. I think Moxie Present. So I just got a few opening slides. We just kind of want to get a feel for our audience and kind of set the stage. We are also joined by Debbie Williams. Debbie is going to be fielding your questions in chat. So if you have any questions, put them in chat so that we can respond to them. And then when you put your questions in chat, please send it to everyone, not just to either myself or Debbie or Brett, so that when we reply, everybody can see the reply. Okay, and keep in mind, as I mentioned earlier, this session is being recorded, so all your questions and all the answers are going to be recorded as well. Okay, so anything that you would like to provide to us, feedback, good, bad, indifferent, please put that into chat so that we can improve on our side and kind of make sure that you are getting all of your issues addressed. Our agenda for today, supporting your MoxiWorks journey, we're just going to quickly go over that. I think some of you may have been participants on future or in the calls in the past. Also, we are going to go over our topic review, 15 minutes of MoxiWorks, maybe even more, actually, group discussion and Q&A. If I failed to mention, if you don't ask your question via chat, if you wish to unmute yourself at the end of our session today, that's fine too. But make sure you write it down, jot it down. If you have a question that you say, okay, I want to make sure I ask Brett this. You're welcome to ask that and we'll reserve the last 5-10 minutes on our call today so that you can ask your questions live. And I think some of you are on this call so that you can ask questions live. And just to kind of also set the expectation, this is not, right, troubleshooting your issues, right? If you do have an issue, right, and we're going to point it out again, like we always do every week, just to make sure everybody gets any issues or problem areas resolved, you go to the success portal located at support.moxieworks.com. And Debbie, if you could put that into the chat so that everybody has that quick link. And I'll repeat it again, right? Support.moxieworks.com. We also call that our success portal. That is where you submit a ticket. Upper right-hand corner, there's going to be a button, and that's where you're going to log any and all of your issues, whether you think it's a Realogy thing or a MoxiWorks thing, that's where you go. And also on every screen that you go into MoxiWorks, there's a help button at the bottom right. Okay, so all of those, that's where you go. Here, we want to get that kind of questions, directions, strategies, right? Some tips and tricks. That's what we want to share on these MoxiWorks hours, not get kind of bogged down with any of the issues. That, of course, we want to address. We want to escalate if they need to be escalated, things of that nature. Okay, so before we continue, I'd like to launch a quick poll to kind of get a feel for today's audience. And I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll. Hopefully you all can see it. And this poll is strictly anonymous. There's 3 quick questions. Number 1, how many MoxiWorks presentations, CMAs, buyer tours, listing presentations, have you created
This
so
is for
far?
agents.
Agents, you personally, if you're producing agent, leadership, maybe you want to say, oh, our office collectively has done this many. Answer it as you wish, right? And maybe if you want to, clarify in chat, like, yeah, we've done 100 as an office. Makes sense? But if you're an agent, but these MoxiWorks hours are designed for the end user of the platform. Okay, for those of you who are leaders, the leadership team, your product champions, the broker owners, we have also, in addition to MoxiWorks hours, we have our monthly, our product champion monthly best practices calls, separate agents. That's not for agents. These calls are for agents, for the recruiters, for the managers, broker owners, so that everybody can learn about MoxiWorks in a much deeper level, more over than what you're going to receive in training, so that you can use and leverage in agent retention, agent recruiting, and help your agents along the way, so that not just your agents know about this information. Okay. So let's see, everybody. And then also, second question, what best describes your role? And you could select multiple items. And the third question, have you visited the success portal, that support.moxieworks.com? Okay, so going once, going twice. Oh gosh, we got 40, actually 72%. Can we get a couple more? Going once, going twice. Couple more people to participate in our poll. If not, I'm going to end this poll. Thank you all. I'm going to share the results. And then I'm going to take a quick picture of this because Zoom does a really cryptic job as to when it's in a spreadsheet that they put it in. Okay, awesome. Okay, so just quickly wanted to go over this. So some of you, how many MoxiWorks presentations? 1 through 4 seems to be, okay, so people are trying it out, but a lot of you, 11 out of the 40, 28% of you have not even created one. Now is a great time. And I want to use this poll to kind of address things, to kind of get you maybe motivated. But one of our offices, and I'm not sure if they're on today, but one of our managers of one of their offices, right, in the Northwest, as an office in the month of December, they want to send out 100 CMAs to their sphere of influence as an office. Yes, the winner of that competition, the one agent, gets a dinner for 2. Whoever sends the most CMAs from MoxiWorks or Moxie Present gets a dinner for 2, their choice of restaurant. Okay, so if you're a leadership team, product champion, broker owner, you may want to implement that. Or if you're an agent on this call, you may want to like, hey, right? You want to share that kind of information. Always good, friendly competition.
Oh, Alex, I just actually saw another company up in the Northeast that was doing a similar thing for sending year-end property update CMAs to clients. And the winner of that, the group is actually sending, I believe it's the top 2 agents to Inman Connect in New York City next month. So, you know, it's always good to reward them with training. So I just thought I'd share that to the group as well.
Training or food? You pick, right? Okay, very good.
There's plenty of food and drink in
New York.
Very good. Okay, so we have one person waiting for Moxie Engage. Very good. And that's kind of why I added that, because we want to kind of get a feel for this. And of course, this poll is trying to give us a better gauge as to who our audience is today. What best describes your role? The majority of you are producing agents, admin, let's see, some of you are trainers, office managers. Okay, so sampling of everybody. Excellent. That's good. And then have you visited the success portal? This one, I'm hoping every week it grows, right, in terms of the percentage. So some of you who said no or not sure or what's that, we want to get you to the yes. So right now, if you want to open up a tab on your computer, the laptop that you are in front of, right, open up that Google Chrome tab, type in support.moxieworks.com, and a slew of resources is going to be available at your fingertips. I can't tell you if you guys are waiting for Moxie Engage, if you want to see what it's going to look like right when you get it, if you want to see the screenshots and how to set up, all of that is on the support.moxieworks.com. Quick reference guides, news articles, hot tips, videos, support documentation, all of that. This is all in addition to what your brand provides you, okay? So just wanted to kind of set that and give you that information because it's a huge bonus of information, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and close the polls. Excellent, so I'm going to, sorry, okay, so a lot of you are here because you want to see how this can make a difference, especially now, right? It's end of year. We finished out hopefully a great year of our business. What is this new technology? Another new platform going to provide me with going forward? Why should I move from my old platform to the new platform? That's why we're here. We are going to share with you nuggets of information on why MoxiWorks is the top in its class, okay? On many fronts. So you're going to hear from experts in the future, right? We're going to have guest speakers. We're going to have subject matter experts like Brett to discuss in a much deeper level anything that you received at your initial launch training. Our plan in MoxiWorks Hours is to go much deeper than that, okay? Because I tell you, this is a big piece of platform. There's a lot of components. And my advice to you is you need to digest it a little bit at a time, right? You're going to be overwhelmed, and we don't want you to be overwhelmed with the amount of material that we're throwing at you, much less all the features and benefits that you get by using the platform, okay? So support.moxieworks.com, I cannot tell you over and over again, go visit it. That's where you're going to submit a support ticket. That's where you can chat to our Autobot who's going to reply to your question automatically. And that's where you can get your help. If you get a ticket from support.moxieworks.com, and if you haven't had resolution in a few days, that's when you let us know. That's where you let your brand representative know, hey, what's going on with this ticket? Okay, so this is what hopefully you all have. Moxie Present, Moxie Impress. That's known as the marketing pack. Oh, what happened? Oops, what happened? Okay, Brett, can you tell me what you're seeing on your screen?
I'm seeing the Real G MoxiWorks suite showing the marketing pack at this point, Moxie Present, Moxie Impress.
Okay, got it. Okay, so something switched on my screen. Sorry about that, folks. This is what you hopefully have. This is what we call phase one, Moxie Present, Moxie Impress, the marketing pack. This is what a lot of people are waiting for, at least that one person who answered on our survey. Moxie Engage, Moxie Websites, Moxie Talent. Moxie Talent is for your leadership team, your broker owners, your recruiters. That is known as the Productivity Pack. That is forthcoming. That is going to be 2022. But right now, we are trying to make you more comfortable with Moxie Present, Moxie Impress, so that when you get these, the next phase, phase two, you can, okay, I'm ready for the next step, right? But if you're waiting to like get it all at once, it's a lot to kind of digest all at once, okay? So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Brett, who's gonna be talking about our topic review, which is INRIX drive time, at least initially, and then take it from there.
Sure, Alex, I appreciate that. You can go ahead and go on to the next slide for me, sir. So one of the features that you're going to see today when I do our buyer tour is INRIX drive time. Now, if you're unfamiliar with INRIX, basically what drive time does is it measures the distance between 2 points in minutes rather than miles. I know when I lived in Seattle, I learned very quickly that sometimes 40 miles is actually a shorter distance drive time wise than 10. And so what drive time does is basically help consumers, help people to take a look and see and be able to analyze the extent of a drive by the day of the week, time of the day, the length of the journey. So why it's great for real estate agents? Well, especially if you're dealing with an out of the area buyer, it really takes that uncertainty out of those most important factors in buying a home, right? How long is it going to take me to get to and from work? How far are the schools? How far is daycare, shopping, etc.? Sometimes people will literally just kind of guesstimate it based on, I think it's about this, or I think it's about that. But what drive time allows you to do is really be able to provide much more accurate data as to the actual time. And a lot of people, especially now with COVID, some more people are working remotely, but in some busier cities, again, I know when I relocated to Seattle, I absolutely chose where I was going to live based on the drive time for me to be able to get to work. So it gives you these great views and great accuracy. So that tool is in the buyer's tour. You can see what it looks like when it pops up as you're just going to put in a location. So for the example, I'm going to put in a place of work. So Alex, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. And what it will do is bring up something like this. So in this example, it looks like somebody is going from the old MoxiWorks office down at 815 Western Avenue, downtown Seattle. And they live all the way out in Sammamish, which isn't that unusual for folks in that area. And you can see that based on that chart, you can take a look at, based on what time you're leaving for work, how long is it going to take you to get there? And then, of course, work to home, how long is it going to take you? So, just by hanging out at the office for maybe an extra hour, you might drop 15, 20 minutes off your drive time. And in fact, actually in Seattle, it's not uncommon to see businesses have folks come in, from 7 o'clock and leave at 3:30 or 4 to try to beat the traffic. So this is a great tool, super easy to use. And as I mentioned in the example buyer tour that I'm going to create here in a little bit, I'm going to show how to use it and how to access it. So you can go on to the next slide, my friend. And so that brings us to 15 minutes of MoxiWorks. And I'm going to do my best today. Last time I got went over and I got yelled at. So I'm going to do my best to try to keep this at 15. So today we are talking about the buyer tour. Okay, now the buyer tour, this is really designed. We have a separate buyer presentation. So the buyer presentation would be something that you would use, whereas if you have somebody looking at different pieces of property and say, okay, I want to buy this one, the buyer presentation would be what you would use to pull in pending and sold data to try to help them figure out, hey, what should our offer be on this property? The buyer tour is just that. It's specifically designed to show a tour of homes, either virtual or if you're going to take them out and show them physically. It allows you to prepare a digital or a print presentation for that buyer. It's really wonderful for reload clients, for out-of-time clients. As I mentioned, you can use NREX. There's a wonderful review feature where you can add and your clients can add confidential notes. And this is important because back in the day, I remember we'd stand out on the front porch before we went in and say, okay, well, what do you think? And what do you think of the last house, et cetera? But now in the day of Ring doorbells and everything else, there's nowhere really to hide, right? So this allows you to do that. And you can also add rich media as well. So I'm going to go ahead and if you want to go to the next slide, Alex. What we decided to do today was instead of doing a slideshow, I'm actually going to go live into Moxie Present and show you how to create a buyer tour. Okay, so Alex, if you can just confirm to me, my friend, that you can see my screen.
Sure can.
Okay, great. So the first step we're going to do is just hit this create new button up here at the top. When I do that, you can see here's my 4 types of presentations: the buyer presentation, seller presentation, buyer tour, and non-listing. We're going to do a buyer tour. So we're going to click that, hit continue. I'm going to go with just my default template, but this is where you can select from a number of different templates if your brokerage is providing them, or if you're providing them to agents, or if your brand is provided, perhaps here's a luxury template versus a regular template. So I'm just going to go with the default here, but that is where you would pick that up. Once I've done that, I'm going to say who it's prepared for, and I'm going to say Mr. Alex Castro today. And then listing source, this is when you create a seller presentation, a buyer presentation, or buyer tour in Moxie Present, that data is connected to the MLS. But if you belong to multiple MLS, you have to select which one that you're going to actually pull that from. You can't use multiple MLSs in the same presentation. So I'm going to pick NTREIS here, which is North Texas, and I'm going to allow notes and ratings, and then just go with a classic design and hit create. Now, once I've done that, it's whirring away, and I will have my default buyer tour, which in this case, there's 9 pages. And a lot like the seller presentation that I showed you guys, I think a week or 2 ago, the process is pretty similar. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're preparing it for Alex. I'm going to upload an image for this presentation. So if I hit browse here, here's a nice graphic I just happen to have of the Dallas skyline. So we'll just go ahead and add that. And then here's my NREX drive time. So for this example, I'm going to pretend that I have just got a job at Parkland Hospital, which is a very large hospital in Dallas. And so if I put that in right here, you can see there's Parkland right there. Great. So I'm going to set my location. So we're just going to pretend that I'm a travel nurse who's moving down to from out of state into the Dallas Fort Worth area and going to be working down at Parkland. So we're going to go ahead and hit continue. Now, our next step is search. Now, I want to point something out to you guys. The reason why you see Seattle on the map here saying, hey, why? I thought you picked North Texas, is because me as an agent, because this is a demonstration account, I'm tied to a Seattle office. So that's why that shows that way. It wouldn't normally show otherwise. So what I'm going to do is put in a location. And you know what? I think I'm going to look in the Frisco area. If you're unfamiliar, Frisco is a nice little suburb of Dallas Fort Worth. So I'm going to pick Frisco there. And you can see that it's automatically pulled up the boundaries there at Frisco. And now here it's automatically bringing in those properties from the MLS. Well, we've got 2,380 listings in here. Well, keep in mind, we're doing a buyer tour. So what can we do? Number one, I'm going to hit price. And we're going to say we're looking for properties between 525 and 625. Hit apply. Now we got bedrooms and bathrooms. So I'm going to say that I want 4 bedrooms and 3 to 4 baths. Hit apply. And then last but not least, for filters, you know what? I only want, for listing status, I only want properties that have been on the MLS for 180 days or less. I don't want to see those ones that have been on for 2 years, because it seems like it'd be a problem child for me. My buyers decided they don't want to deal with that. Obviously, we're looking for properties to show. So I don't want to see sold properties. And I'm also going to click off these here, the pending, coming soons, off markets. We're just looking for actives at this point. This is also where I can select any certain criteria in terms of square footage, lot size, etc. So I'm going to say I'm looking for, we'll say 3,000 square feet. And waterfront, any pool, I'm not going to worry about. We'll just hit apply and see how that does for us. Now we're going to see that list shrink significantly because I took out, okay, well, now we only have 3 listings. Well, let's go ahead and we'll add a little bit more here just to make sure. I want to make sure we look at all the properties. So I'm going to go back to filters. Let's drop this to 2,500 square feet. All right, well, that gave us 4. Okay, we'll go with these 4. So actually, no, let's go 2,000. Only so that I can show you the next little bit of editing that I'm going to do. This is self-serving in nature. Okay, cool. Now we have 6 properties. Wonderful. Okay, so you can see them here. Now I'm going to go ahead. I had the option if I wanted to, instead of using filters, etc. I could have actually gone over here and used a radius search or Tron, or pulled up a school search too for public schools or private schools, if there was a certain school district we're looking for. So it gives you quite a bit of options in terms of trying to whittle down the list into what you want to look for. So I'm going to go ahead and hit continue at this point. Now, why did you play with the square footage, Brent? What were you doing that for? Well, that's so I could show you this fun thing right here. So once my properties here show up, oh, I didn't select the listings. That's my bad. So here, hold on 1 second. We'll have our 6 properties come up. It helps if you click on the ones that you want to show. All right. So now I've selected my 6. Human error, not digital, always important. So now here we have our tour, right? And we could see that, oh, wow, number 1's like kind of way out there. It's all the way out in McKinney. And while there's a great pizza place out there, my buyer's not really looking in that area. So let's say I want to take that one out. Easy peasy. I just hit this red button here, remove that listing. Boom. Now we have our 5. Okay. And we feel pretty good about these. Not wild about this one being on the Sam Rayburn, but we'll go for it. So we can see here our current order is 1, 2, 3. And if I zoomed in, 4 and 5 are right there because they're right next to each other. But if you did want to change the order, I could hit this button and move them around. So if I wanted number 3, or let's say I wanted to start with 5, I could go up and slide up. And they'll automatically change the order, etc. But I'm going to leave them the way they were. You also at this point have the ability to add adjustments. So you can see that we've got 4 bedrooms and 3 baths, and this has significantly less square footage. So if I wanted to make an adjustment up or down, I could do that there. I could also at this point edit remarks. So if I went in and took a look at the remarks of this property, where we see this thing about the mega sale promotion, maybe we don't really want that to show up for our buyers. We can actually go in here and go, nope, and hit save. Because we know sometimes agents love to sneak in things in those remarks. So you actually have the ability to edit remarks, but you can also add to it. So if we're looking right here, I can say, Alex, this is the property with the fantastic media room. Now that will show up in the remarks in the report, right? So you've got some options there, which I think is great. I feel pretty good about our tour order here, so we're going to go ahead and hit continue. If I needed more listings, you just hit add more listings or do what I did previously and hit listings. You can also add a custom listing. So if you have off-market properties, etc., you could actually add a custom listing. And that's a feature that is in all Moxie Present reports, the buyer tour, buyer presentation, seller presentation. So now if I hit continue here, you can see that we've got our base sheet here. Here's my cover sheet with Alex's name and my little face right there. If I go to my listing location map, you can see that it shows them here. And I have the ability, if I want to look at a satellite view, and this is also your client's ability as well, I can hit that, or I can hit the map. And then for any of these properties, I can either click the listing up here, or I can hit the number. I'm just going to hit number 3. It automatically highlights it up here. So if I look at this listing, we can see here that I've got either directions. Now, if I hit this, or more accurately, your client hits that, it will actually take them straight to a Google Drive Time directions from their current location to that property. But here's my drive time again. So I'm going to hit calculate drive time. And now what's that doing is it's pulling up my address that I put in there, which is Parkland Hospital. It's almost 29 miles from the property. And you can see that depending on what time of day I'm heading into work, I'm looking at a 35-minute drive all the way up to a 40-minute drive. Coming home, work to home, you can see that it varies from about 36 minutes up to 45 minutes, right? So that's, again, helpful data to have. And if I go to the next property, it will do the same for that as well. So it's great to have those integrated into those presentations. The other thing I want to point out, of course, is the ability to add review. Now, you as an agent at this place, I can't hit, but once we view the actual presentation, that's when they have the ability to click on that add review, add in remarks, and give it a 1, 2, 3, or 4 stars, or 5 stars. Okay, now if we hit our listing overview, this is the Pinterest view, I call it, and this is where we would see those reviews and the star ratings on all of these. Now we're going to go to side-by-side comparisons. Now this brings in a bunch of salient facts and information, which a lot of it is great, but there's occasionally times where if you look through and say, oh, you know, we don't really need that. So for example, none of these really have a view. They're all inland. None of them have basements. So if I wanted to kind of shorten this up and tighten up that report, I can click on edit. And I can come over here and decide what's going to show and what's not going to show, whether it's having to do with the listing selection, pricing, or features. So if I go to features and say, you know, none of them have a basement, none of them have a view. So let's just take that part out. And I hit this X, it will go ahead and update itself. And now it will take those columns out. So that helps you if you just really want to have a tighter package of data, or perhaps add a data point that's important in your market that's not part of the default. Then we have our status comparisons. This is a great just breakdown of price per square footage here. Listing averages, which kind of shows our pricing range and our prices on days on market, okay? And price and size. Now, let's add a couple quick pages here. So what I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and click on add page. And so for the first one, I'm going to create new. I'll say, you know what, I want to put in a video, right? There's my Chamber of Commerce has great videos that I can add in. So if I click on build page here, I have different options. I'm just going to pick this one right here, which is just one big pane. And then I have an option to add video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a quick video here on YouTube. And you can see that it's pulled up about Plano area, which I know this isn't Plano, but hey, it's close enough. So we'll go ahead and just to show demonstration how to use it. If I click on the share button, that gives me the link. Okay, so if I hit copy there, go back to Moxie Present, say I want to add a video. That was lovely. I can just paste that in here, hit add, and just like that, we've got that video in there. Now, if I wanted to add some text below that video, I could hit this plus button and add in 1 or 2 modules or 3 modules, and I can decide I want to put text in each one of these photographs. So I can build out the page, but I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to hit X on that, but that's how you would do that. Now, once I hit save, it gives me an option to name it. So I'm just going to say Why Plano. Okay. And then once I'm done, I have the ability to save it. Now, for sharing options, if I click this, that means that I enable page editing, which means that when I share it to somebody, the original page stays with me, but any other users have their ability to be able to edit their own copied version of that page, right? So if you're a team leader, you can decide, is this page locked down and this is what I'm giving them, saying use it as is, or if we want to allow them to edit it, we would hit that button. But I'm just going to go ahead and hit save here. And then I always save it one more time and then click out of there. And here we are, got that video in there. And then I can drag it and decide where I want it. So where do I want it? Well, I think I'm going to put it right here by the cover page. That's great. So the last thing I'm going to show you is how to add a different page, and that's a PDF, how to build a page from a PDF. So if I hit add page, after I've done it a couple of times, it would show up in my library and I could just click that. But I'm going to show you guys how to create it from scratch, since you guys are starting from the beginning. Again, I have the option to build page, but now I'm going to upload a PDF page. So I'm going to click that right there. And then I just choose my file. And so I've got this new resident checklist that the city was kind enough to make. And again, I have my option to change where I save it to and those sharing options, but I'm just going to go ahead and upload it. And now what it's doing is it's converting this PDF into a page in this case, or it could be multiple pages depending on what you're bringing in, right? So you can see here's my city of Plano. This is a new resident checklist, which could be super handy. You know, here's the things that you should be doing when you relocate. Well, I'm going to go ahead and slide that down here before my agent profile. And there we go. So I've got this all created. Take a last step. It's pretty simple. You would go ahead and view it as a web. I always view it as web and as a print, just to make sure things line up the way that I want to. But that is just how easy it is to create a buyer tour. Now, again, what's great about these buyer tours is it has live MLS information. So if I'm looking at this listing overview today, these 5 all show active. But if I've sent this link to Alex and he pulls it up a week from now, something tells me chances are all 5 of these are not going to be active. So every time he clicks the link to pull up this presentation, it's going to update status, prices, etc. So that way, it really, number one, helps make sure he's not looking at old comps and old data. But number two, it helps you to tell the story of the market. Because if you're saying, hey, there's 10 properties right now, but half of these are going to probably sell. And they go, oh, well, yeah, right. It's not moving that fast. And then a week later, they pull it up and there's 4 out of 10 still available. Oh, wow. Okay. So it helps be that kind of like third party voice of reason to help kind of coach them as to how the market's going. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, but that is just how easy it is to create a buyer tour. So Alex, I'll let you go ahead and share your screen and take back over.
Had a couple of quick questions for you, Brett. Are you
All
there?
right, lay them on me.
Okay, so I think that was really cool where you were able to edit the remarks. So just so I'm clear and so our audience is clear. And again, if you guys have questions, I'm just gonna ask some initial questions, but please take this time to ask your questions as well. But I just kind of, give you some time to kind of formulate your questions. But when you edited those remarks, that was quite cool. So it defaults to what the MLS has. It imports that into Moxie Present.
Correct. Yeah, it'll bring in those remarks from the MLS, and it's sometimes they're fine, and you just want to leave them alone. But usually, our agents who use Moxie Present a lot will do a couple things. Number one is they'll put a few notes in there about each property, especially if they previewed it or if it's a property they're familiar with. And then number two, like I said, you can safeguard, because we do know, unfortunately, that companies will come in, or some certain agents will come in and put things in the remarks that they probably shouldn't, that would violate MLS rules and regulations. So you can kind of keep an eye on that too and make sure. The other thing I've seen, and I hate to even call this out, is I've seen some listings with quite a few spelling errors, which really kind of take away from that person reading about that property. So if you're thinking this is a dream home, but this person can't spell, yes. And just seeing the quick questions, yes, the reviews show up to basically the buyer and you. They're not published anywhere. And so in that, they can really type, and I'm glad you put that, Michelle. So the best way to use this buyer tour is have your clients pull them up on their phone if they're physically touring it as they're going through. There's plenty of notes there, so they can write in, love the kitchen, countertops may need to go, and as Michelle points out, if you're looking at 5 or 6 properties, it really helps them afterwards to remember what they liked and didn't like about certain properties, and it helps you as the agent because you have that. You can take a look. Robert, the answer to your question is no. If the properties are sold and there's a status change, the properties you've selected don't just drop off the report; they'll just show as pending or sold. So you don't need to redo it.
Yeah, and then I wanted to add, and for some of you who are, I'm sure, thinking this already regarding Robert's question, do you need to go back and modify the property list? I think that might, in a hot market, right, that may be a way to, I guess, create some urgency with your buyers, right? Where, oh my gosh, Robert sent us this list on Monday and it's only Wednesday, and 2 out of the 10 properties are now pending.
Absolutely.
Right. So you may not want to delete that list, delete those 2 that went pending. You may want to keep those on your list to show, okay, oh gosh, we got to act. Okay. So I think it goes 2 ways, right? Of course you can modify it, but as Brett mentioned, prices change, everything's updated as long as you get the web link, right, to that presentation, right, Brett?
Correct. Yeah, that's how you're going to share these is you are going to send them a web link, and then every time they click that link, it essentially re-renders the presentation. Yeah. Now, obviously, if you've printed it, we haven't figured that technology out yet, how to change those printed reports, but
just to make sure everybody understands, right? If you keep it as a web link, updates automatically, right? If you print it to a PDF, guess what? It's going to be at the time of when you printed that PDF. Okay, so just want to make sure. Brett, another question. The initial order, when you showed that the map, number one was way out there. The one that you deleted, it's like it was way out there on the right. How come one was over there and then two was way on the other side?
Because what I did is I just literally selected properties and they're going to show up by various different ways. I believe the default in that one was how long they'd been on the market. So the system doesn't automatically put them into tour order. They're going to just, the order that the listings are on the listings page is going to be the order that they're on the next page. So that's where you can move them around and change and decide which one you want to look at. And I think it's nice because it also depends on where you're going to meet them at. You know, are you going to meet them at their place? Are you going to meet them at your office? Are you going to meet them, somewhere, middle ground? And so you can basically decide, hey, how's this tour going to work? And yeah, it's just an email link. So if they have email and a web browser, they'll be able to pull up that presentation and be able to follow along and see it.
Yeah, so to answer Wesley's question in chat, how do clients pull it up on their phone, as you mentioned, right? Just a email link. You can get email on your phone and then it goes up, opens a browser, correct?
Yep. Yeah. And if you're one of the first things I always tell people to do, like when you're first getting started with Moxie Engage, right? Always go in, do a quick buyer tour. Maybe an area that you like or an area you specialize in, send it to yourself on your computer, look at it on your phone, look at it on iPad. So, like, hey, this is how it looks and here's how the functionality works. And same thing, hey, do a CMA of the last property you sold or a property that you have listed that's been sitting. Well, the more you can practice doing just a couple presentations, the better off you're going to be. It's just like when you were a newbie agent joining the MLS, right? That's probably what your broker told you to say. Go in there and do, pull up and do 3 CMAs. And if I say I'm looking for a house with this criteria in this neighborhood, okay, you go pull listings and I'll see how you did. So practice truly does make perfect. But I think you're going to find that the learning curve is very, very shallow. It's not steep at all. And if you do need help, there's a ton of videos over on support.moxieworks.com that can help you through them, or else there's a lot of learning support in your brand portals as well. And that's consistently being updated with new content from the LCOE and from our MoxiWorks learning team.
Excellent, Brett. Couple other questions. YouTube videos, correct?
Yes.
PDF files, yes? Live MLS data, yes?
Yes, sir.
What other sources can we put into our Moxie?
Oh, a ton of different stuff. You have the ability to drop in source code, which is what you can use if you want to import things like a Matterport tour or a BombBomb video. Anytime you are a Google map, which I think is what I showed when we did our custom pages, right? Is anything that gives you the ability to, here's a source code where you can embed it on a website, then you can typically go into present and create a page and drop that source code in and embed it within present as well. I know that one example we had shown internally is there was a company, I can't remember the name of them now, that had a widget that basically just gave, here's the stats for this neighborhood last month. And literally our sales director created a presentation, I think 3 years ago, dropped that widget in, and now still 3 years later, every time she pulls up the report, it automatically updates and shows, the previous month's home stats. So there's an ability to create some really cool evergreen content in there. If you're talking about YouTube videos, you're best to use or Vimeo, you're best to use the video option instead of trying to, drop a YouTube video in there, but you have pretty good flexibility to add in. I've even dropped in source code for a playable version of Pac-Man into a presentation once, just playing around. So, occasionally you might need to massage the code a little bit, but typically you can just copy and paste it and I'll put it in there.
And just a couple other questions. And again, hopefully you all have other questions. Okay, so Brett, from your experience, best practice, right? Would you send this prior to driving your buyers around?
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially if they haven't given you very tight. Yeah. If they haven't given you very tight criteria. I mean, I picked on Frisco, but typically somebody who's moving into the DFW area might be looking at Frisco, Plano, Addison. There's a couple of properties in Arlington I might like because I'm a Cowboys fan. I don't know, but you can put in, a larger search and say, okay, here's 25 properties. And then, help work with them to whittle it down, right? Because we know sometimes we got to ask a couple different good questions to really figure out what they're looking for. So this would be something that absolutely, and instead of just which again, remember in Moxie Engage, you can put people on listing alerts, but this would be something that I would say, okay, you're looking in this area based on our initial discussions. Here's a list, but why don't you go through and decide, what do you think between this one and that one, et cetera. Robert, it does not. The question was, does the tour provide estimated drive times between those properties? It doesn't. It just shows you just have the ability to order them the way you want to. So, but I think that's I would use this as a meeting them out or touring them properties. Absolutely. Because, most of those properties, if you noticed on the list, had video. So, you can say, hey, here's 20, pick the 10 that you like the best. Here's the ones I think are really great. And then we'll schedule those. So absolutely.
Yeah. And Robert, to answer your question also, that's a great question. And I'm sure everybody would love that. But, I think
not yet.
There's apps on your iPhone or your Android that I'm sure you could populate all these addresses and it, kind of maps it all out with the timing of driving as well. And then one kind of best practice, and I think, Brett, if you can elaborate on this as you will, YouTube videos. For those of your agents, right, who have testimonials, client testimonials, right, with your iPhone or your Android, videotape them on, when they close the deal with you, upload that to YouTube. Brett, isn't that a great way to start your presentation just like you did, right? I mean, you added that Plano video right up front.
Yeah, I've taught agents for years. It's one thing to tell everybody how great you are, but it's another to inspire others to tell everybody how great you are. And I think the ability to drop in video testimonials is huge. I personally, my favorite posts, and I have thousands of real estate agents who have friended me on Facebook, and I see the posts day after day. And my favorite posts aren't, woohoo, sold 4 properties this week, yay me. My favorite one is, here's a picture of the family that just closed and got a brand new house that they're going to decorate for Christmas. And, that's what I like to see personally. And I think that's what a lot of your audience likes to see. So I think that every agent should definitely have a YouTube channel where they can capture those testimonials, and also if you have video listings, another quick tip that I've seen shared that I think I agree with is, a lot of people will put up video tours on their YouTube, but what they don't do is make any changes if it's sold. So I've seen some great creative agents. They'll go in and change the title of the video to 123 West Palm Drive - sold. Because that way, when I look at your channel, I can see, oh, wow, you have like 40 property videos and 36 of them are sold already. So obviously this person knows what they're doing. So, I don't think you have to be a podcaster to be able to use video successfully. But yes, to your point, just the ability to take video or ask them for a video, hey, if you send us a quick 1-minute video, let us know how we did. We'll enter you into a drawing or, something to that effect. I think is a great way to use that rich media.
Yeah. And just kind of as another suggestion, as we mentioned, some of our offices and affiliates are doing competitions on which agent can send out the most CMAs in a 30-day time frame. Another one that you may want to incorporate for next year, right? Which agent can capture the most YouTube videos of client testimonials, right? I mean, what better way of, just like Brett said, right, of somebody who's touting how cool, how great an agent you are versus, yay me, right? That was kind of funny there, Brett. But just kind of wanted to share that idea with you. Any questions that you all have? We got still several minutes that we wanted to make sure that if you have any questions, that you can ask of Brett, of myself. Like I said, I think I mentioned somebody was asking, I think Michelle was asking about the link for 2022 Moxie Works Hours. That's going to be forthcoming. We're going to send you that link so you have it in the follow-up email. That's going to also have this recorded link. Okay, so you're going to have that as well. Other questions? Going once, going twice. If you can, while you're thinking, We have a closing poll. Some of you who have been on our calls prior, we have a closing poll. We just want to kind of get a feel for how you felt about today's session on a scale from 1, not so helpful, to 10, extremely helpful. How was the information shared in today's MoxiWorks hours? Yes. The second question, and this is totally anonymous, and if you have any feedback that you'd like to supplement with, via chat, we'd love to hear from you. Okay. So also, what topics would you like to see more deep dive, like Brett went into today, in future sessions? Right. We want to make sure we hit targets that agents are asking for. Right. So let us know. What do you want to see? Because guys, if you've been to the success portal, right? support.moxiverse.com, you know that these products, both the marketing suite and the productivity suite, there's a ton of features and functionality. Lots. Just on even what, right? You got 5 products, or actually 4 products, right? That are huge and robust. So make sure you take the time to learn. And now is a great time, right? I know holidays is kind of tough on a lot of people for time, but right, next year you want to make sure you go out of the gates really like gangbusters. So I'm going to go, anybody else going once, going twice? We got over 50%, 30 more seconds. Excellent. Thank you all for participating. I'm going to go ahead and end this poll. Thank you all. End this poll. Thank you all for responding. Thank you for the positive information or positive survey results. We're going to go ahead and take a picture of this. Any questions? Brett, is there anything that you would like to add? Maybe last minute.
I'll
tip?
just say again that the ability to be able to create all this stuff on the fly means you can be sitting on your couch with your iPad, watching the Voice finale. And during those commercials, if you're watching live and, I can't skip them at 2 minutes and 30 seconds of agony, you can sit there using your web browser and practice creating collateral. So I think that, the companies that we've seen really do the best are the companies where the product champions and the marketing team especially use it to create assets that they then give to the agents and really embrace it. They're going to learn from you. It's one of those, it's kind of like back in the day when I would coach brokers on recruiting. I always say, when you're going to make your recruiting calls, put a sign on your door that says, "Hey, I'm prospecting. Why aren't you?" Definitely want to lead by example. And I think that the more you use it, I've seen some really great creative ways that brokerages use this for corporate communications and market updates and all sorts of things. And I think that you definitely have an opportunity. I want you guys to be like those case studies, where we're seeing 70% uplift in business. So keep at it and don't be afraid to go look in that support portal. It is a support portal for sure, but there's tons of videos that will literally walk you through almost everything that you would want to do in Moxie Present. Super easy to follow along. That's how I learned the software when I joined MoxiWorks. Actually, was just watching a few videos and going in and trying it out. And it's a website, you can't break it. Well, you have to work really hard to break it, but practice makes perfect. So find those moments to give it a shot. Try to do one a day. And try different things and I think you guys will be in good shape, and we'll keep giving you more ideas on these upcoming calls.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brett. I just wanted to kind of emphasize, right, the takeaway that I'm sure a lot of you are also taking away is that you have so many different sources to create these pages, right, of a Moxie Present document, right? It's not really a document because it's more electronic. It's a page that you're creating. And you can pull in information. It's not just MLS data, right? Which we would think, okay, yeah, it's pulling information from MLS, but it's YouTube videos, right? It's PDF files. It's source code, right? It's a Matterport video. I mean, if you guys need help, I'm sure you guys have technical resources at your offices. But right, if you need also help, right, if you don't have that information, go to portal, which is support.moxieverse.com, or shoot us an email. The email that you got as a part of registering for this particular session. But thank you all for attending. Everybody, we wish everybody a happy holidays and Merry Christmas. Hopefully everybody stays safe. And thank you, Brett, for a wonderful session. And we're going to see you all on the other side of the year 2022. We got a ton of information slated for you on the books. Okay, so thank you, Brett. Thank you all.
Belly Kaliki Maka, my friend.
There you go. Thank you all. Appreciate
Bye,
it.
everybody.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you, Ronnie. Appreciate it. Thank you all for attending.